time.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn, and I have one of my favorites among many favorites I have, but this one, there's something about this lady where it's really extra special when she's on Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse, which I affectionately call Jana. Now, you guys are going to have to call her Dr. Woodhouse, but I call her Jana. Anyway, before I bring her on, I do want to let people know, thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. Let me let you know about our sponsors, which is UJuice. You go to Levitt, LIBETSTORE.com. Go to the website, and it's when they say authentically Caribbean in every sense of the word. And the juice is absolutely amazing. You got it. Well, the one on the left, that's my favorite. That's the passion. But it has a sugar-free, no GMOs, all this other stuff. It's a great, great product, definitely. Also, the other sponsor is Nicholas Brooklyn. And in fact, Nicole, Monique's daughter's birthday is today. So happy birthday to little Nicole for another day. Another year around the sun. And also is Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly, who is sponsoring the show. And also, and go to Kimberly, KIMBALEY _ to catch all of her podcasts. And our newest sponsor is Queen Bee, or Numeralytics.biz. And numbers matter. She is no joke with this. In fact, she will be my guest featured on this Monday. All righty. But in the meantime, let me get back to this. And wait, there we go. In the meantime, I have Dr. Jana Woodhouse on, and every time she's on, she talks about money. Well, that's her forte. She is a financial educator. No, she is a certified, okay, excuse me. She stepped it up. She is a certified financial educator, consultant, and a whole lot more. A wonderful, wonderful Cancerian person. And what happens is, when I would have her on those occasions, she would talk about, don't y'all be spending up, your children's money or using their Social Security. And she also talked about the banks, that when you go into the banks, they offer you lollipops called dum-dums. Well, I'm here to show you, these are it. I went to the bank just the other day to see, and you see what it says? Dum-dums. All righty. So the lady gave me a whole bouquet of them. She said I could have as many as I wanted to. I says, okay. So I think it's very, very interesting that they call it dum-dum. But without further ado, let me bring on my very special guest, Dr. Jana Woodhouse. Jana, how are you? Let me get this off. All right, I got you.
You got me. I am blessed, and I'm so blessed to be on your show. It is always an honor to be able to speak with your audience, because it is my people.
And I'm in on that one.
And my goal is always, I've been blessed, and I want to bring financial literacy to our community and make a difference, and I go sometimes. They give me holy hell because, they don't want us to know anything. Like you said, they got dum-dums. Let me tell you something. I'm walking around, you got the dum-dums, And the same company makes Smarties,
Interesting.
you
So they're
know.
the smart ones, and when they give out these,
They
we're not.
want us to stay the dum dums. They could put the Smarties out there, but no, they bring the dum dums. They're subliminally hitting you,
Yeah,
you
there
know.
were about maybe 4 cashiers, and all of them have big bowls of these. These.
You see that? And they pretty. So therefore,
No,
and
that's
we
why the lady gave them to me like a bouquet. You understand? So I says, okay.
that's it. We've got to be aware. See, you can walk in the bank now and you say, look, I ain't no dum dum, but I'll take your candy, but I'm a smarty. So when I do seminars, and I'm going to start doing them again soon, right after tax season, and April happens to be National Financial Literacy Month. And so I'm going to be on a rampage, hit out here to get our folks understanding. My company, Wealth Wave, just came out with another book called How Money Works. What is it? Act Now or Pay Later. So it's for young folks. I would love for folks to be able to turn back the hands of time and put money away and be focused, and that this the sad thing is that we don't,
Yeah,
folks.
it's interesting because other countries I've noticed, like whether it's in China, India, other parts of the world, a lot of their earnings is predicated upon saving. Where here in this country, it's just encouraged to just go debt, debt, debt. So this is a detonation.
Yeah, and the thing is that there are some states now. We're up to about 27 states that teach financial literacy in this
New York
country.
is not one of them, I bet.
No, of course not. But the thing is, even those that are teaching, what are they teaching? They're teaching things like how to write a check. Okay, we don't use checks.
People don't write checks no more.
No,
Not
they
for
don't
money.
write checks. But that's what we deal with. We deal with, people, um, their, savings program. You know that it's, which I found was just ridiculous. There's retirement plans that they want us to use because their objective is to get rid of the pension program. Most pension programs have been either put on hold or they're backdoored, that they're just, not having them.
That leads to
And
one of the questions I was going to ask, and they call it backfloating rate loans, which is designed to absorb pensions where people are going to wake up and there's not going to be no pensions at all.
right, that's something similar to what happened in the Bernie Madoff situation. They're investing it, taking the profit, and going bankrupt. And so the good part, though, for those of you who are New Yorkers, you have the great opportunity of protection from New York State. It's one of the rare things that's really good about New York.
What do you mean?
And
What do you mean protections
so
against?
what happens is that for them to have anyone to have a pension fund, they have to have at least 110% of the assets. So if they have $1 million, they have to have 2 million one to be able to keep their pension and to get the benefits of the pension. IRS will monitor them. So New York happens to be a good state, and there's still people who do have pensions, companies that have pensions, but for the most part, they're gone. Why? Because they want to go to the 401k, 403b, 457. These are all retirement plans that IRS puts out, and they're really tax codes. As an accountant, that's my area, and so these tax codes say you can put money away, you can take it out of your paycheck, and then you can pay taxes later on them. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think that we should have some things to lower our tax brackets, of course, because there's very few things now, because this administration is going to keep things going. And it was supposed to, or tax laws were supposed to fade in 2025, and looks like we're going to keep them, which means
I
that
heard about that too. That if
it's
they plan,
terrible for those people who own homes and make a decent salary. They don't get to deduct their real estate taxes from
Weren't
their.
you able to do that at one point?
Excuse
Weren't
me.
you able to deduct the taxes
Oh,
or the interest
sure. But
rates?
now you have to, the whole idea is really creating a flat tax. So it's not one of those things that is conducive to itemize. Now people just, you know, put in the figures. Like IRS right now has a whole system that you can get your taxes done for free if you make under $250,000, and you just plug in and pay. That's what it's all. They're taking so much away. You know, if you go out now, and especially those of you who live in New York, if you go out and you buy a home that's over $750,000, you think you did something. You probably, if it's over that, you're not going to be able to deduct all of your mortgage interest. There's a cutoff.
Amazing. That's amazing.
It's just nothing to help the Main Street America. And you know, when they use that term, make America great again, I look and say, what America are you talking about? Because we're being hurt so much, middle of America. And then the only thing is now is to really try to become wealthy, because the wealthy make money and keep their
And I
money.
mean, it's in the extreme. And I mean, as they go to the extreme in terms of more accumulation of wealth, the lower end from middle class on down just seem to go further backwards. There seems like there's a serious disconnect with that whole mindset.
Well, you know, also, which is baffling to me, I remember growing up and someone earning $45,000 and had children were living pretty good. And, you know, it was, but now that qualifies for earned income credit, some support from the government.
Serious?
Serious. And so, you know, it's rough. It's rough out here right now. Oh, might as well make a public announcement. Those of you who have LLCs and corporation S corps, not necessarily the corp because that's excluded, but those who have a S corp, LLC, anything that's registered, a partnership registered with the state. It was back in December something called BOI from FinCEN. FinCEN is FINCEN, which is a finance criminal enforcement. And they were making it mandatory that everybody last year sign in and give their ID called the BOI, Business Owners Identification. Well, the state of Texas battled it and they put a moratorium on it and stopped it. So as of January, it was stated that if people hadn't filled out the form, they were going to have to pay $500 a day as a fine.
Right. Exactly. We talked about that.
So Texas battled it and they put it down. So here comes March and they reiterated it. They reinstated, brought it back. But now they said, well, you can fill out the form, but you won't be fined if you don't fill out the form, but fill out the form. So here comes March 21st was the date line. And this is talking about some confused folks. So March 21st came and went. And basically they said, if you're in a U.S. business and run by a U.S. business and a U.S. citizen, you don't have to fill out the form.
Boy, it's confusing.
They want to find out about where these federal funds are coming from. They are battling it. I have had clients who have gotten settlements, lawsuits, and they almost have to tell them what color underwear they wore that day. It's so bad because they just don't accept anymore. They're digging deeper. That's what's happening. And they're looking for people who are foreigners or laundering money. But the average person
ain't nowhere near that.
No. So we're in sometimes.
That may not even represent 10%, really.
No, less than 0.5% of this country. So we have businesses, and we need to make sure that our businesses are registered properly, that we are ready to make money. And of course, I'm going to put my plug in that you spend time watching your uh, A Star A Star 8 app, because I live by that A Star 8. The people laugh at me, but when it has two reds, I'm like, I'm sitting cool. I ain't bothering
Yeah.
anybody.
So I'm learning how to follow my own app. I lost an item, and when I looked, I had 3 red star days. And I said, Lord, you should have checked your own app. So
That's it.
I do
I
something.
get
I
up,
do
I
like
read, and you know what they say. Your grandchild said, "It's a Lloyd in the pocket." you know, but these are necessary to move forward. We have to battle this world on a spiritual level, not on a physical level. You know, a lot of financial advisors just go for the dollars, and it's not about that. It's about educating people so that they can do better. If they know better, they'll do better. But if no one explains, then they're not going to do it. I just sat with a young man, new, coming in. He's 27 years old. And I said, look, you need to at least put some money away. I said, did you know that if you put as little as $200 a month away, and if it's at about 9%, okay, if that's the S&P 500, if you average that, by the time you do that and you're 67 years old, dude, you're going to be worth $1.1 million. Now, that's foreseeable. It's doable, but no one ever tells them, so they don't do it.
and they got to start at that age where they've got a lot of life ahead of them too. I think it's
Well,
very
there's a thing called the cost of waiting. So where you're in your 20s, you can put away 100 or 200. When you get to that ripe old age of 40, you got to put away maybe about $800 a month. And then when you get to the 60 is when we all wake up, and that's when you got to put away almost $3,000 a month.
boy, things
Now,
certainly change.
yeah, some people, they say, oh, I'll never be able to do it. Well, do something, and that's why we have the How Money Works book. Stop being a sucker. That's why don't want to be dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And in
then
fact, there's a book for women too that
yes.
they could use. This, let me just take this off a second.
Mm-hmm.
Comment off because I think it is.
Oh, I hear someone, as soon as they do their prayers, they do their A
Yeah, I
Star
saw
8.
that. yeah, yeah, he said that right there. Thank
Yep.
you.
Check
Yeah.
my A Star 8. I'm with you, bro.
And I check it in the morning. It's mine. I check it definitely.
That's it.
He
But
says he called it his coordinates to maneuver the matrix. That's
I hear
interesting.
you got to do it. We got to work from a spiritual level. So the book, How Money Works for Women, Take Control or Lose It, is really identifying, money is green. Okay. But women, we have a tendency, it's a sad situation, but for every dollar that a man makes in this country, we make about 82 cents. So we're always behind. And especially when it comes time to retire, we make less. So that means we have less Social Security. Now, I know some of y'all out there think that Social Security is going away. It's not going away. Now, it may change its color. Okay, but it's not going to go away. Why? Because we have the silent generation is still living, the baby boomers, we've got Gen X, Gen Y, we got all these folks living. We need to prepare for ourselves though. So that says it. Take control and lose it or lose it, and then we came out with the How Money Works, which is an ebook. And again, I offer these books to anyone. If they want the book, they can write to me at Anaj Enterprises Inc. at gmail.com. But if they want the ebook, all they got to do is email me and say I want the two books that are ebooks is called Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life. And the other one for young folks is, and it's not just for young folks, it just sort of focuses in on waiting too long. That's the book that says how money works the next generation. And that is that you act now or you pay later. And paying later means
It's
that
always more costly.
yep, it's, and
Always more costly.
if you just put a little bit away. I had a client that came to me years ago, and he said someone told him just to put $100 a month away. And he said, okay, I'm going to do that. And he did. He's 83 years old right now. And his pension runs somewhere about $108,000 a year. He's living large, and sometimes we just have to do a little sacrifice. We have to budget. We have to see what we want. And that's when you need to sit with a financial advisor.
Such as yourself.
That's right. And that's so important, is to be able to step outside. We go every year, well, we're supposed to, every year to the doctor, and we get an examination to see how we doing, right?
Mhm.
But we don't do the same thing for our finances.
That is true. We go for our annual physical, but we don't go for our annual fiscal.
That's right. And that's where we mess up. It's just like I was talking to a couple that got married 5 years ago, and their taxes are atrocious because the husband's taxes are a mess. And I said, see, y'all talk about being spiritually evenly yoked. Y'all better talk about being financially evenly yoked. You got to ask some questions. Some of the stuff that you need to ask is, how you doing on your taxes? Do you have child support to pay? Hey, do you know if you get married and the person owes child support and they can't afford it? Guess what you might be doing?
Yeah, I understand that they open up this new administration, President 47 opened it up where whoever is paying child support can now get it be tax deductible on their end.
They're trying to get it. I don't think Congress going to let it go. But if it does, what it should be, and what really the laws that they're asking for is that you be able to deduct the children, take the children as a deduction. But the key is
Is this the one that's paying the child support? Or the
yes,
father or the mother?
right, either one. And the child support usually can be 17% for a single child and 33% of your income for two or more. The situation is that most of the time people aren't paying that. And so the key is to take a child as a deduction, which they left out of that article that they put all over the place. Is you got to be able to show that you provide more than 51% of the child's livelihood. Now, that can be through child support, but sometimes it's not. And it depends on who is the custodial parent. And the custodial parent gets to also include their portion of the rent. If it's a three-piece in the household, it's a third of the rent. So sometimes it's hard to beat that.
One person asked, what is the credit score? Why does the credit score seem so important?
Our world runs on
do.
Of credit, and the credit score is based at there are really three types of credit score. We know about three reporting agencies, but there's three types of credit score. The credit score, such as there's a credit score for what we all know are credit cards. Then you have, if you're going to buy a house, there's a credit score for buying a house.
Really?
And there's also a credit score for buying a car.
Really? I just thought it was one, what is it? FICA or whatever,
You get
Equifax.
the Equifax
Yeah.
and oh goodness, got a brain fog. Okay. So you have Equifax, Experian,
Yeah.
and I forgot the T now. All of a sudden it'll come to me. But the TransUnion.
TransUnion,
And
yes.
those are the reporting agencies, but there's over 50 to 100 different credit reporting agencies. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the back.
Wow.
And I give great ups and props to all on the Soul City Network, Tyrone Glover, who does lead level your credit. And the reason why is that we don't know all of this stuff, but asking what a credit score is, it's a basis of what they call Fair Isaac, and Fair Isaac ain't fair. Okay, comes up with.
Well, who is he? Fair
It's
Isaac.
not. It's an acronym, and I never get anyone to be able to tell me what the acronym means.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a system to figure out what your score is. But more than your score, we should be paying attention to our credit history, our credit story. Yes, thank you. I finally forgot. Remember TransUnion, but the credit history. So you need to go on and look. We get an annual credit report. Every citizen of the United States has a free credit report once a year, and they can get it from annualcreditreport.com. Do not go to free annual credit, because that one they're going to ask you to pay. If they're asking you to
And
pay,
yet they call it free, huh?
yeah, they'll put free in front of it, but that's not the one that's free. The one that's free says annualcreditreport.com. And you get that once a year. You need to look to see every year. If you haven't ever looked at your credit report, go look. Why? Because I think Lloyd mentioned it. We as folks are very industrious and figure out, well, if I messed up my credit, I can use my child's. And so what do? If you messed up yours, leave theirs alone. They need to be left alone. People put their children down for the Con Ed bill, the cell phone. They need to stop that.
I do have a question. With
Mhm.
with this free annual report .com,
Yes,
they have to begin at the beginning of the year, or let's say somebody is just hearing about it now.
they can do it.
They can do it.
Yes,
Okay, but they can only do it one time per year. That's what you're
per
saying.
year. So if they did it here in March, then March of next year they can do it again.
And what's the name of that? Free, literally.
Don't put free, not the free one, because that's the one that suckers us. That's the one that lies to us. Start asking for money. It is just annualcreditreport.com.
Annualcreditreport.com. Okay.
And everybody is eligible for it as a citizen of the United States. And so you go on there, you put on a little information, they try to identify you. If it doesn't match, then they will mail you the report. But if you match up the question, you know how you have these security questions and things? It'll ask things like, did you have a car? What kind of car did you have? Because they know all your stuff.
Yes, they do.
People tickle me when they say, "Ooh, I don't want the government to know anything."
They already know. They even know the value of your car.
They know that. They know when you got that credit card, and I'm thankful that they have stopped pushing credit cards at high schools when people graduate, because the knowledge is not there. They don't teach financial literacy in these schools.
How to properly use that card.
Yeah, they don't talk about it. And so what happens? They use the card, they don't pay it off, they ruin their credit. To get your credit to a level, I know some people have had their credit and they keep saying, I pay, like I pay the minimum. That's nice. That's not going to do it. You need to keep your credit level at least 30% of what your credit availability is. So if you have a $10,000 credit line, 3,000 you should be using and keeping it low, bringing it low, and paying on time. If you don't do that and you done brought it up to 5,000, your credit score is not going to change.
This person here says, which credit score does Credit Karma display on their app?
I believe that they avail you to all of them. I'm not that familiar with the Credit Karma, because usually they come up with some ideas also and some cost. but they do help out. Matter of fact, while I'm here, I'm going to take a little peek to see what do they use, but they should have all three,
Okay.
because you want to have all three. You want, to see, what does it say? Don't take in count when you pay your monthly bills, or
Oh, right on
yeah,
time.
there are some reporting agencies now. Now, I don't know if they've been passed yet, but that's one of the things that you need to look at. They are working diligently to allow people to use their rent as a
As a
reporting.
credit reference.
Yeah, because they sure do it if you don't pay it. But yeah, the thing is that you need to be able to pay your bills. You want to pay it down. You want to stay within 30% of your credit line. So if you wind up with $100 credit line, then that means you only get to use $30. Okay. The other thing is that you can do secured credit cards. You can that's more or less connected to a banking system. You don't get a lot of interest, but you can do that. Start putting money in, so you're really using your own money and paying yourself back, so you can build it. Another way, if we really, let's do the reversal for our children. The reversal is that you can gift your child your credit if it's good. If you have a good credit, they can mirror it. You put them on as an authorized user, then you change them to a user. Authorized users do not get the
That's
credit score.
interesting.
They don't get the credit score. That's one of the things that's in the How Money Works for Women Take Control or Lose It. It talks about a woman who was a homemaker, and she just used the card. She was an authorized user for her husband's card. Okay. He died. She had no credit rating at all. So you need to know whatever you're doing is being reported, because if not, you can be up. In this case, this woman was 73, I think, years old, and husband dead, and no credit, nothing reported. We have to know these things. We have to get with our money. I really look at it this way. We don't have a relationship with our money. I had a little joke,
That's an interesting way of putting it. What do you mean?
we don't have, when we get ready to buy something, we don't think about, oh, I'm going to save this amount, or I can, or how do I save more? How do I use less? How do I barter? We don't think about that. We just buy. We buy. And so, one of my thoughts, I'm working on this book because it's really important, about our finances. And in it, I said, you know what? The best thing we can do, because we don't have, when we get our paycheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people touch their paycheck? How many people touch money? Don't. When we go to the store, how many of us touch money? We don't carry money. We got card. We got tap. Okay. So then when we look back at the fact we don't touch it or use it, we have no relationship. So I say just one check. Take your check, get the cash, throw it on the bed, because most things are made, relationships are made in the bed. So you go lay down on the bed and wallow in it. Get to know your money,
I know a
and
guy that did that. I know a guy that did that when he bought a house. He said he brought all his money in. He literally put it on the bed, and he has the most beautiful brownstone. And he
hey,
just waddled in it. He just waddled in
hey,
the
that's
cash.
a relationship, right? That's a relationship. Now,
That's
after
interesting.
you want to go back to, because they've moved us to don't touch any of the money.
No, they
I'm
got it now where you go into Whole Foods, you just put your hand over something.
That's
You
it.
ain't
So
got
you
to
have,
use a card.
then you'd wind up spending $100 that you only planned on spending 20.
Oh, because you got to do like that, right?
That's right. You see, we've got to
Wow.
budget. Another thing that we need to do is to get rid of these subscriptions that you're not using. Now, I say subscribe to Sorry, I'm going to tell you that. But the things that we sign up for, all the games we play. We play the games, we put a subscription. Before you know it, if you list all the subscriptions you're paying, you could have possibly bought a meal, gone on to the movies.
And we just forget to cancel them.
That's right. Not using it. Now,
but many of them now are putting in, they don't even ask you, do you want to do it automatically? They just assume you want to do it automatically now. They don't even ask you.
That's it.
You're not careful, you're locked in until you definitely tailor it.
Yeah, you got to take control. We have, and again, I tell folks, read the book. If you get the book, read it. I know some of your listeners have, because they've been really diligent. They've gotten, and I give with the book, everybody gets what we call a discovery call. And a discovery meeting means that we sit down, we review where you are and where you want to be. If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. So get a plan, and we provide that to everyone. Free 99, free. I had one of your guests, your listeners said, I got to pay. What? I said, it's free 99. He said, so I got to pay $99? And I was like, no, baby, it's free. It's all free. All I ask is that in payment, the real payment is to tell somebody else.
And apply what they're learning. I know this several years ago when you gave me How Money Works, it had a green lollipop or something on the front versus red.
Yeah, it's a lollipop.
Yeah, that changed the way I looked at money since then. Seriously, to be
I'm glad
to pay your bills. And by the way, now if you have a credit card or debit card, if you don't, the interest rate is like 27, 28%. Isn't that like loan shark money almost, the interest?
Well, reality is it is, but it's still allowed. And if you take the rule of 72, which is one of the things we teach all the time, how your money doubles.
Can you explain?
Sure. How your money doubles. So you take 72 and divide it by what your interest rate is, and it'll tell you how frequently your money will double. So, for example, a simple example is that if you get a bank account and it's paying 1%, take that 1% and divide it into 72. It'll take 72 years for your money to double. Not very exciting. But if you have an investment that is at 6%, then you know that it's about 9 years. Every 9 years, it would double. And if you get 12%, and everybody look at me, yes, it's possible. If you have something doing 12%, then it takes about every, 3-4 years to be able to double. Those are the things that you're looking for. So let's go reverse that and use it as a credit card. You got a credit card at 20%, and you're only paying the baseline. You're only paying the minimum charge, right? Well, if it's 20%, then it'll take about every 3 months, your balance is doubling. You will be about 25 years in debt.
That's amazing. So when they says pay the minimum and you think you're getting over from paying the minimum, what you're saying is they're locking you in for decades up the road.
And having a wonderful time with it, because think about what they're really doing. And this is why we said, stop being a sucker. Think about what's really happening. So you go to the bank and you put in $5,000. You're happy. They give you 1%. And you're like, okay. Or they'll tell you they'll give you 3%. You think you're doing pretty well because you're over inflation. Okay. They take that money immediately and they start using it towards that credit card that's 20% that they loan to somebody else using it. So they're making 20, you're making 5. Let's do the math. There's 15% what we call a spread. 15% they're making off your money. You know, I have a dear friend of mine, and I woke him up because he said, Jana, I have put $250,000 in the bank. I was like, great, that's wonderful. What was your interest? He said, I got 4%. I said, did they feed you? Did they bow? Did they kiss your feet? And he said, what? I said, because they must be loving you. Because think about $250,000 and they're going to make 30% on that. And all they got to do is feed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all in the mind. I said,
you're taking money to the bank, pardon the pun.
That's right. And that's the whole thing is that we need to understand. Now, I'm not downing the banks. There's things that you use the bank for. But the key is that most of the time you have difficulties in our neighborhood, just like when you're ready to buy your house, going to your neighborhood bank. There's a book called The Black Tax by, what was his name? Sean Rochester. That book is phenomenal because it teaches you the real discrimination. Did you know when you go to buy a car and you see the sticker price and you think, well, I got them down 5% of that sticker price? No, when they saw you coming, that sticker price was already 5% more. So you didn't make any deals.
You know, it's interesting. There's a book called The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. He talked about how tax-wise the discrimination of Black people and whatnot, and we have no idea some of the
we
double
think we've
standards.
arrived. Everything is equal. No, it's not.
No, it's not. No.
As a matter of fact, what is it? April the 5th, I'm doing a workshop on personal finance for a group called Blacklining. And it's going to be at the Salvation Army in Harlem on 125th Street. And
What avenue?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what avenue.
Well, there can't be but so many.
It's only one Salvation Army over there.
125th Street.
Yes. And the thing is what they're doing, which I admire them because they're saying blacklining. You know, we heard redlining. We know exactly what that is. That means we get discriminated. And they're trying to bring financial literacy to our community. And the reason is that if we know better, we can do better. And so I'm going to be talking about personal finance because we don't know what to do. And we know how, what just Lloyd drives me crazy. I go by the projects, and by the projects, you see cars. I saw a Maybach. I was like, I didn't even know what a Maybach really was till I saw, and I'm like, you in the projects parking that car on the street. Or, I'm like, why spend $1,000? The average person right now is spending $1,000 a month for their car.
Yeah. And that's not counting the insurance.
No. And every time I see that, I'm like, oh my gosh.
And now to pay a car, they give, it used to be in the days of my parents about you pay a car and every 3 years it's paid off. Now it's understanding it's about 6 or 7 years to pay off a car.
Yeah. And then the thing is that what you could do is sometimes, and I give tribute to, again, to a young lady, Jasmine Pfeiffer, who is phenomenal in understanding between leasing and financing. She is phenomenal. I told her she needs to set up a business on it because she's really talented with it. And that's one of the things is sometimes if you've got a car that's going to go kapooey in 3 years, why are you marrying it?
Listen, maybe if you don't mind, maybe I can get her name and whatnot and bring her on so she can talk about, so people can be educated in leasing a car and financing a car.
Definitely.
I would love to bring her on to talk about that.
That's your girl. That's Jazzy.
Really? Oh yeah, Jazzy Cool.
That's it. It's Jazzy.
That's the real name. Okay, I'm gonna get
Yep,
on.
that's her. That's her.
I'm
And
gonna get
matter of
her on
fact, I'm
there.
looking now at the flyer. Yeah, it's at the Armory on it's 2306 3rd Avenue
On the east side.
on the east side. It's from 11:30 to 4, and they're doing Q&As, and they're opening up. I think they're expecting like maybe 50 vendors that are going to be bringing financial literacy. But also what they're doing, I love it, they're allowing those of us who are entrepreneurs to talk to folks who want to become entrepreneurs, and opening up that door. Because we really, when you think about the Black Wall Street, that was 600 businesses that were self sufficient, and they bought within themselves. So a dollar lasted 3 to 5 years before it left the community. Our money leaves our community in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, now in about 6 seconds.
That's
None,
it.
none. That's now. When is it again for those who might in the New York metropolitan area?
Sure. It's on the 5th of April. It's a Saturday, and it's at the Salvation Army in Harlem, 2306 3rd Avenue. And it's held by the group is called Black Lining, and it's bridging opportunities and expanding horizons. This is what we have to do. We have to get out and meet each other and work with each other and share. We have to, sometimes we may have to pay a little extra, but the key is that we're helping each other. We're supporting each other. Instead of supporting somebody else who doesn't give two hoots, or they left the DEI and said we're not hiring because of someone's color. We're not saying that we're less than, we're better than. And then you got an asset if you hire us, but no. So I'm saying stop worrying about someone hiring you.
Let me
Set
ask
up
you
your
this.
own businesses.
There is this thing about the tariffs that's being imposed on different countries and whatnot. And they're talking about how companies or corporations here in New York, or not New York, but in the US, are passing it on to consumers. That has always baffled me. That can't some of these corporations, forgive me for being naive, but can't some of these says, you know what? These are the public that's been supporting us for decades. Why don't we absorb some of this? Why don't we absorb half of it instead of putting all of it on the consumer? I'll take a portion and you take a portion and we divide it up.
Oh, there goes that righteousness. Get on, let your ancestors hear you, because that's exactly how we should be doing, but that's not what's happening.
No,
It's
not at
greed.
all.
It's greed, and it's unnecessary greed. They say that it's going to change. Whenever there's a surplus, there's never any time that they go and say, "Oh, we're going to give, something to the community." No, I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to make more with it. It's a terrible thing
And then
that
they pass it on to the consumer. But I would think if the consumers for all these decades have been supporting their products and or services, why don't they just take a hit one time? Just one.
that would be nice, but that ain't happening. What they're going to do is continue to raise the cost. And the thing that we have to do is to change that our thinking. And I think that they've tested us enough. I really believe that they've tested us in many ways, like when H&M, and I don't want to call, that's my thought, not Lloyd's, but but H&M, they put our children in a monkey suit, and
I saw that. That was about 2 years ago. Right
that's
on
right.
125th Street.
That's right. And we
The
still
nerve
go
of
in their
that.
store. We still go in their
Yeah,
stores.
I
You
remember
know,
that.
you got to, at certain things, I won't go into a certain restaurants, because I'm not going to, they can't make money off of me. I remember listening to a brother, we were at a fish store getting fish, and he was complaining they weren't doing his fish properly. And so he said, "You better do my fish right." And so I'm listening to him and I'm like, "Why aren't you walking out?" So I told the brother, I said, "I'm going to walk out because they're not treating you right." And he said, "Well, sis, I got to still get my sandwich."
No, he don't. No, he don't.
But that's how we think, we people mistreat us and we just tell them they better not mistreat us again.
Now, here's something that's interesting question. Should
Hmm.
we have a trust fund or a trust account, and what is the difference?
Okay, trust funds. We first of all, I'm going to say it this way: we need to put our savings together and get some money. Okay, have something to work with: gold, silver, dollars, Federal Reserves. But as we pull it together, if you trust fund is one that speaks basically from the grave. You have a trust fund that goes generational. We need to be clear about generational wealth and funding it and building and having things that we can build from person to person, generation to generation, instead of giving them bills, sending them bills. So with a trust fund, here you are, you have the opportunity to put money away. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients, she has a trust, and the money is going to her grandchildren, not her children. And because she said they don't need it. And so her grandchildren will receive money upon her death. But the thing is that they must, number one, have a certificate of higher learning. So they have to go beyond high school. The second thing is they need a financial advisor to present to the trustee, because this is their her way of saying that the money won't be wasted. Okay. Now, a trust
That's smart.
account,
That's smart.
yeah, it's perfect. But to do something for the generations, we need to build generational wealth. Do y'all know that even Mr. 47 is a beneficiary of a trust? Mitt Romney, he had an income of 250,000 as a senator, and everything else he earned is in trust. He doesn't pay taxes the same way. What's his name? Warren Buffett said, "I'm not leaving my kids any money." No, you're not, because they have endowments. And then an endowment is not a gift tax. It goes from generation to generation to do things. Now, a trust account can be set up simply, it's in trust. So it's not you per se, it's usually for a child who has the money put away, and the parents or the grandparents are overseeing it. That's the difference. It's a weights of living and how to build for the next generation. Many of us put money. I have folks who have gloriously said they wanted to have 529 accounts for their kids to go to school. These kids are geniuses. They don't necessarily, may not even go to school. But now you can't use that money for anything other than education. There are ways to put things away in different investments that the children can use right away when they are ready to move. If maybe they want to open up a new a business, or buy a house, they can't do that with a 529 plan.
Now, it's interesting because I understand a living trust is one of the best because it bypass probate, and
Yes,
probate can be very messy. And
it can.
probate, if you're locked into probate,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll take forever and a day, and they can
It
do whatever they want to, their lawyers' fees, the court fees. So by the time they settle everything, the family practically has nothing. In fact,
Well, let's take our sister Aretha Franklin, for example. She died heavily during COVID. She had an $80 million estate. Her
wow.
and no will. They finally found four different written wills, but the will
Yeah, they
very
said
much.
one was behind the couch, and oh yeah, I heard about
But
that.
ultimately, by the time they've settled this estate, it's down to about 40 million. Now, some people will say, well, it's 40 million. No, she lost half of it to lawyers and court. Whereas if she
It
had
should have
just
went
put
to her
things,
offspring.
that's it. But the thing is that if she had just put things in writing and have it set up where she had a will, and one thing that you want to have also for those of you who have children that are 18, remember by state law, they are adults. So when they go to school, you may not be able to do anything with them like get their grades. Why? Because they're adults.
Yeah, they would be
See,
considered emancipated.
that's it. They don't have to give it to you. Yeah, you paying for it, but no, you not getting the information. And I've seen this happen. You get a form and they have to write and sign over the rights that they will allow, like a HIPAA form, which is about their medical. They have to sign similar to say that you have the rights to get information on them. You got
Listen,
to do these things.
I have about 20 definitions that I've been hearing that
Okay.
they use, and I want to just ask you some of them.
Okay.
One of them is shorts. What is a short?
I like to talk about that. Okay, to buy something short, I know it sounds kind of weird, but you don't own it, but you're buying or selling it.
You're buying
So
something and something you don't own?
yeah, you don't own it. You are buying it and is shorting it, saying that I don't own the stock, but I'd like to own the stock. And so I'm buying in on margin, which means I'm borrowing money and I don't own anything, but I'm using it and I'm trading it. Welcome to the world of finance.
No, welcome
So,
to the world of confusion. Because that's
so we're used to, you think about it. It's almost like, what I took liken it to is the layaway plan. You see, because you didn't you wearing it, you laying away, you may be able to wear it and then still pay for it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
sort of kind of. It doesn't work really that way, but sort of kind of.
What is
So, mhm,
I'm so sorry. Listen, can we stay over just a couple of more minutes? Because this is
yeah,
getting juicy. Okay.
yes.
What is fractional?
Okay, fractional is just that. It's a portion. When we were in school and we had 1/4, well, it's a percentage of a full share.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So instead, in the case of when you're buying and selling, okay, the best way to say when you buy stock or you're selling stock, you want to sell in what's called a lot, LOT. And a lot, I guess it comes from that term, it's a lot, but it's 100 shares. So if you have less than that, let's say you have 33 and a third share, that third share is a fractional share.
What's a
So
bubble?
sometimes it's hard to sell fractionals because when people are, you see on the stock exchange and they're buying and selling and but it's easier to get rid of full lots. Now it's a lot easier even getting rid of some of the fractionals because they're working on that market. But for the most part, it's easier when you have clear cut full shares. And then there's things that people do, which is fractional also, they call drips. Those are where you're buying a little bit. So let's say a share would be $100, but all you're doing is putting $10 in continuously until you get a full share.
What's a bubble? They said the economy is in a bubble. I know bubbles is like a balloon where you pop it. Would I be correct, my dear?
Yeah, it's going to blow. It's going to blow. It's when our economy, I would put it basically that we are in a portion of where there's nowhere for us to go economically. We're sort of stagnant. So look at the bubble as being something on a stagnant level. And it's our economy today is not really in a bubble. Uh, right now, what's happening to us, we're in the stock market at an all-time high through the years. We lost basically what we had when we were, what was it, in December, well, even in September, all those
Mhm.
gains that we got, they're gone, but they're coming back. We just have to, some people say, I don't want nothing to do with the stock market. And I say, yeah, but you're in it every day. Every
Mhm.
day. Did you buy that sandwich? Where'd you buy that sandwich? What store did you buy it from? Mm-hmm. Were they traded? And that's one of the things I think we were talking earlier about was the public offerings and financing. Public finance is that we have an opportunity to be in the market, but we don't because we're scared. We say, oh, I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to leave it under my mattress. Let me tell
As
you
if
a little.
it's working for you in some way.
If it's not working, you're losing. So if you've got your money under the mattress and it's not invested in some way, shape, or form, then you're losing. If it's not growing at right now, we're about close to 3% in inflation. So if you're not meeting that, your money's not growing. It's not meeting your buying power. Inflation, by the way, is just your buying power. Like right now, we've got, what is it, $7 for a dozen eggs, or more, It's our buying power. What can we do with this dollar,
But
And
it's interesting because I was going to ask, what's the difference between inflation and stagnation? Because I'm hearing
mm,
that a lot. What does that mean,
yeah.
stagnation?
Well, my understanding, because they make these words up,
I know. They said
but
they did it deliberately to keep the masses kind of like sleep.
it's so my understanding why they say stagflation is that we're in a portion of what that means. It's stopped, it's stagnant.
Mm.
And where inflation is truly our buying power, and when it goes down, we're in an element of stagflation. We got more than that, because there's, what is it, shrinkflation, that they gave that word. When you go to the store and you got the bag of potato chips, but most of it's air, you know
Yes.
but
Yes.
you pay the same amount for it.
Yeah.
Or like, one of my clients alerted me, when you get the Tide, the liquid Tide, your liquid detergent, and it's half empty. Your seasonings. I saw seasonings in one of the grocery stores, and it was the full bottle, but it was only half full, but we're paying the same amount. You
I,
know,
I've heard of that. What about derivatives? What are derivatives?
Okay. Those are basically elements to, it sounds like what it is you derive from. It is part and part utilizing the open market, the hedges that are here, all of those elements. It's getting a piece of it. I guess that's the best way to say that you can be invested in that. So if you think that, a certain stock is going to go up, instead of buying an option, you're buying the derivative, and in still being able to invest in it. But that's really sophisticated investing. And I'm just trying to get my folks to do simple things like put a couple of dollars away. But yes, that's one of the things that's out here, is different ways to be able to get in the market, make money. We need, as a people, and this is just again my opinion, that we need to do what the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise was slow and steady, the hare was running. We
Hmm.
need to be a little bit more towards what, I talk about what we call in the book the 7 money milestones. And it's important. Why? Because, first of all, the number one money milestone is financial education. Get somewhere where there's classes and don't just go on the internet and Google, because there's a lot of folks doing a lot of stuff and not explaining it properly. It's just like someone called me recently and said, I heard that there's going to be they're going to give $6,000 for everybody, like they did the stimulus. I said, yeah, and you heard wrong. Okay, but that's the kind of stuff that's out there. So you get the financial education, you get the proper protection. Make sure that we have proper protection as far as life insurance, the types of insurance. As a matter of fact, I have a site that's called Shop Your Term. And if you have term insurance, because most of the time the insurance man doesn't come to our neighborhood and sold
Mm-hmm.
us term. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to see if you're overpaying, I can send you, if you reach out to me, I'll send the link so that you can check and see, are you paying too much for your term? Because term is like rent. Permanent insurance is like owning a house because you're building equity. But term insurance is like rent. 12 months, you didn't
You
die.
have nothing to show for it. You can
Not a
literally,
thing.
you can be
You
written
didn't
for
die.
20, 30 years and they can kick you out the following month.
That's it. So that it's gone, or lapsed. Then there's the emergency fund that we have to build. And that means 6 months to a year. They say 3 to 6, but in my community, I tell them 6 months to a year. You got to put away money, at least those 6 months of your take home pay. Because we've seen from COVID that if you have that money put away, there's a good chance you can survive a disaster. If you haven't, and you're living like what's going on in our country, a person can't even pay a $400 debt. So, that's the rough part. Then you got to take care of that debt. Make sure that you start to eliminate it. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt, you can work with your house. Bad debt is them credit cards that you're paying the minimum on. Need to do that. Then we've got cash flow. Again, building that budget and making sure that you're making more money than you're spending, and setting up those kind of things, or get aside. They got something called gigging. You get the gig.
Yeah,
Okay,
gigs
so
now. Yeah.
gigging. Look, after I saw on 60 Minutes, this woman got the opportunity to make $60,000 by giving hugs. I was like, and cuddling. I was like, okay, that's her gig. Mm. Then you have building your wealth, and that's building your retirement plan, having liquid money, being able to live comfortably or live in the same way that you've always lived in, which can't happen if you count on just your pension, because if you're counting on your pension, it's usually half of what you were earning. So if you weren't able to live on 100% of your income, now you got 50, you need to
Yeah,
do
what
something.
makes it even half of it?
That's
Question:
it.
What
Mhm.
is stand for delivery?
Hmm?
What is stand for delivery?
Is that
That's a term, like I guess in like gold and silver. There's paper stock, silver, paper, silver stock, paper gold stock. Stand for
yeah,
delivery.
you don't want paper.
I don't
You
want.
don't want
I need my
paper, gold,
physical.
nor yeah. Stand for delivery. I understand well, I wouldn't have used that term, but
That's the term I heard them use.
okay. So what it is that it's like buy, when you go to buy, and this is sort of older, but if I'm thinking it's the same thing, is that when you buy a stock, okay, once you buy, there's a settlement period. And it's usually 3 to 5 days after you've purchased. So at that point, it is delivered to you. As far as gold and silver, if you're buying real gold and silver, not the certificates,
Yeah.
that's not a case, because you should get delivery immediately. But if you are doing certificates, then it's under that 3 to 5 day, sorry, I said year, 3 to 5 day period to receive. But I'm not making a recommendation or anything, but if you're going to buy gold and silver, don't you think you should just go ahead and get the real thing?
That makes sense to me too.
You
What
know,
is what is futures market? I'm going to ask one more, and then after that, what is
Mhm.
futures market?
That's it, is the projection on what the market will do. Like right now, we're in a position of where the market has been going up. So it's basically investing in what you project will be the either the growth or the loss in the market. So what they're doing is it's a mixture between, again, stocks that have gone before, like the Hang Seng Nikkei. Y'all see that every day when they mention it. But how's it doing compared to the US market? And now you want to buy into that and invest in it. It's a way to invest.
I'm going to
And it
give you.
also includes the foreign exchange.
So there's going to be one definition. I'm going to give you two words, and you pick which one.
Okay. Volatility.
Volatility
Volatility.
and the fundamentals. I heard about what are they talking about, the fundamentals? I mean, whichever one you want to take, volatility or fundamentals. It's your
Well,
choice.
I'll take the volatility because we're in the midst of it. It's when you see the disparity that takes place in the market, where we're up 500, down 1,000, up 500, down again 500. That's the volatility. Now, when you're looking at a stock, that's what you want to look at, is what are, like, when you buy in, is it stable or is it volatile? Is it one that, let's say one of the volatility components could be the CEO, just like what happened with United Healthcare, got killed,
Yeah.
dropped. You see, so that's the volatility behind it. You've got to look when you're putting together your portfolio.
And what does that mean?
Okay, that means all the things that you have your money in. Where is it? I believe everybody should have it on one place, so that, in one area to look. So I produce for a lot of my clients a portfolio that they can see, log in and see all of their investments at once,
In other words,
including
cash, stocks, real estate, gold,
everything.
silver, all that stuff.
All that stuff, everything, where their 401k plan is, where their IRA, where their investments are, what are they doing? What are they invested in? Some people think diversity means, which is one of the words everybody uses, do you have diversity in your portfolio? Well, some people think if I have a 1-year CD, 2-year CD, and a 3-year CD, I'm diverse. No, you're not. You need to have a little bit of stock, a little bit of bonds, depending upon short term, long term, have everything put into its own perspective. Some people have no term because they have nothing right now. So they need to have a budget so they can see how they can start to save. And sometimes it means looking at how they're spending, because people will tell you in a minute, I don't have nothing to work with. Yes, you do. You just need to figure out how you're spending it. So that's that whole element of your portfolio, is what do you invest in? Some things, like I know some people, they want crypto. I tell them, well, do you understand what crypto is? What's the definition of it? How is it created? Which crypto do you want? What, these are questions. They don't want to answer that, but that's the kind of stuff that a financial advisor would do, is to see, why do you have these investors? I would say when you're picking a financial advisor, you really want to talk to someone who is concerned about your goals and your dreams. We have enough product out there. We have thousands and thousands of types of products out here. The key is that one thing that we can't bring is your desires and your dreams. And we need to bring it to reality. Like, I have people who sit with me and they'll say, I want to be financially free. Okay, so what does that mean? Because your definition of financial freedom is a lot different than my idea. So I need to know, what does that mean? Does that mean an extra $1,000 a month? Does it mean $10,000 a month? And then what are you willing to do to sacrifice to achieve it? So these are the things that when you sit with a financial advisor, or more so a financial educator, who will educate you first before they put you into
Well,
something.
excuse me, isn't that you?
Yes, that's me.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Like, what's she talking about? Isn't I'm available,
Yeah,
but
isn't that
again,
you? And
I
listen,
know.
And the
I
one thing
know
about you
people
make
need
your
to
phone
know
number
that they have
available.
options. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
And no, and that says if you notice, you will have your phone number. So for those of you who she is definitely Jana, this is well, Dr. Woodhouse to all of y'all, but Jana to me, thank you. She is a certified financial educator and consultant of the highest order. And I like her style because she has a lot of common sense. And all the person has to do is just exercise it. And her number is 646-375-2121. Her Instagram is Jana B. Woodhouse. Her website is wealthwave.com slash Jana
Yana
B.
B.
And her
Mm-hmm.
email is janab@wealthwave.com. Now, you said you're going to make something available, the ebook.
Yes, if anybody wants the ebook, it is Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life. It's an ebook. We also have How Money Works, The Next Generation. I also have the financial education, how financial literacy gauge and calculator to see where are you. You know, some people are very shy and don't want to know that they don't know, but it's okay. 66% of Americans don't know how money is even compounded, so don't worry about it.
Now,
But
how on your banner do they contact you to get these books?
they
Call
can
you
go
or
to my email me at yanab@wealthwave.com, or they can go to call our office 646-375-2121. Or if they go to my website, wealthwave.com/yanab, there's an order there, an order form. So there's all sorts of ways you can get these books.
no
Definitely.
excuses?
Mhm.
I says no excuses.
No excuses. Only thing is, once you get it, you got to promise you're going to read it. You know,
I know I read mine. It was a game changer,
yeah,
literally.
I got to get you the other
I
books too,
mean, it
because
really, really started looking at, and it's an easy read. I mean, a second grade reader can probably just read
that's what
it.
it was
A lot of
set for.
illustrations. It's nothing complicated. I
It's
wish
also
we
good for you to, you know, like one of my clients, she reads a chapter for her little ones instead of a bedtime story. She reads about the money.
but you know what? They're probably going to wind up being very successfully stable in the financial
Yes.
world too.
For real. This has been so wonderful. I'm so thankful that you are allowing me to come on board. I
And you
love,
said April is financial month.
yes, it's financial literacy month.
I may try to have you back on as early as April. I don't get tired of seeing you, see.
Thank you.
So we can begin to, because I'm telling you, the way this economy is going, for those who are financially illiterate, we're going to pay a very big price.
Yeah,
Doesn't
you
make
got to
any
put,
sense.
you just don't. And as it says that, you know, act now or pay later, it's really true. If we don't put something together and set things so that our future, we're going to pay for it greatly. And so, you know, it's the little things. You know, we know how to put those quarters in the water jar, but you need to roll them up and see how much is in there. You know, we need to teach our children how money works, and that, you know, going to the ATM machine is a connection there. You got to work for that money. You know, we need to keep this going. And I do seminars just as a promo here too. If someone has a group and they want someone to speak on financial literacy, I will do it. I
Thank you.
will come.
Thank you. Bless
Mhm.
you. Well, I'm going to have you back at the end of next month to
Thank you.
kind of wrap up the financial thing. And for those of you who stayed the entire time, I thank you very much for sticking with the Live with Lloyd family. Yes, I'm into numerology and astrology, but I'm also about raising people's consciousness, at least the Live with Lloyd family. And these are very important numbers too. Okay, they're the financial piece. Jana, thank you so much. God bless you. You know,
Thank you so much, Lloyd.
and I'll have you back on soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So everybody, I do want to thank you. And by the way, you know, I forgot to, you know, I'm always doing something. I forgot to give the uh forecast. So the forecast is this is Wednesday. I know it's never too late. We're still in Wednesday. It's the 26th. The sun is in Aries. And at 3:31 p.m., it moved into Pisces. Mercury's retrograde. It's a 3 universal month, a 7 universal week, and 11 universal day. So Leo's, Aquarius, and Cancer, which was my guest that just got off, Dr. Jana Woodhouse, or those born on the 2nd to 7th, the 11th to 16th, the 20th to 25th, and the 29th of the month. And I've got to thank all of my sponsors, which is, oh boy, I'm talking about a fog. You juice drink, okay? Definitely there. It's a Caribbean drink. It's great. And it's carrying out sponsors. Oh boy, talking about some days. Anyway, also Nicholas Brooklyn, over 50 years in business. Miss Kimberly Williams on Manifest on Purpose. Go to KIMBALEY. And also our guest on Monday is Queen B, who also sponsors the show. She is a superb numerologist. She's very conscious in the community, and she is also the sponsor of our show. Go there. And for those of you, I will be teaching a palmistry course next month on the 22nd. I'll talk more about that. But if you click on that QR code, it'll take you there so you can sign up and be a part of it. And I can tell you all the extraordinary things of how to look at a hand and read a hand very well. Also, you can sign up for the free monthly newsletter. April will be out next week. I think April's coming soon. But if you want to hear the recording, just go to Kimberly, KIMBALEY_.com. So everybody, I do want to thank you. I want to thank the sponsors, but more importantly, I need to thank Dr. Jana Woodhouse. I kept her longer, like she's not busy already, but she hung in there, and I really do appreciate that. Everybody, y'all take good care. Have a great, great weekend. And thank you very much. And so all comments and whatnot, just leave it, and I'll get back, okay? Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.